Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today let's try to solve the problem which was given on April 1st. Okay, so what does the problem statement say? Okay, the problem statement says you are given a zero indexed 2D integer array questions where questions of I is points I and Brainpower I. Okay, the array describes the questions of an exam where you have to process the questions in the order. Okay, you have to process questions in the given order and make a decision whether to solve or skip. Okay, solving ith question will earn you points of I, but you won't be able to solve the next brain power questions. Okay, if you skip the ith question, you get to make a decision on the next question. Okay, let's take this example. Okay, so here we have been given this array. Okay, this array contains 4 elements. Okay, at each position I can make a decision whether I should solve it or I should skip it. Let's say I have solved this particular question, then I will basically earn 3 points, but the catch is, since I have solved this particular problem, I won't be able to solve the next 2 problems. Here brain power is 2, that means I won't be able to solve these 2 problems. Okay, then I have a choice to either solve it or not to solve it. Okay, so if I solve this particular question, then I would get 2 points. Okay, so as a result, the overall points I would get by solving is by 5. Okay, so if you take any other possibility, let's say in the first position itself I choose to not to solve this problem. Okay, then I have a choice to solve this or not to solve it. Let's say if I solve this, I will get a points of 4, but I have to skip next 3 questions. So if I skip 3 questions, there are no more questions to solve. As a result, in this particular possibility, I have gained a points of 4. Okay, but there is another possibility which I have explained you before, which by solving the first problem and by solving the last problem, I would gain a points of 5, right? So which is maximum. Okay, the problem statement says we have to return the maximum points you can add. Okay, so let me jump back here. Okay, so here so the idea is so like at any position you have 2 choices. Okay, either to solve the problem or to skip the problem, either to solve this problem or skip the problem, either to solve this problem or skip the problem. Let's say if I choose to solve this particular problem, then for sure I won't be able to solve these many questions. Okay, and then only I will have a choice to whether solve this problem or not to solve this problem. Okay, so let's try to write it down in a recursive way. Okay, let's say we have a function f, okay, which basically takes the entire array. Okay, let's say here okay, let's have a function f which takes the entire array. Okay, let's have it as array, and it also takes an index I on which I have to make a decision. Okay, let's say I'm at this index I, then I have to make a decision whether I have to solve this problem or not to solve this problem. Okay, so how can I write this function? Okay, the one particular choice is to either have to solve this problem. Okay, I have to solve the ith question. So if I solve the ith question, so then my recursive relation would basically look like so this f of array comma I will basically tell me maximum points earned by solving questions from ith index till end of the array. Okay, so if I make a decision to solve the ith question, then the points earned will be basically the points of ith question. Okay, plus for sure I won't be able to solve next these many questions, whatever let's say I'm at this ith index. Okay, I won't be able to solve these many questions. So the recursive recursive condition would basically look like I plus the index, how many questions I have to skip. Okay, so let's say I plus questions to skip plus 1. Okay, so I have to skip those many questions, and then I have to make and then I can basically take a decision to solve the problem or not. Okay, so let's take I is here. Okay, this is ith index. So if I choose to solve this particular problem, then I have to skip two questions. Then my I should stand over here. Then so how can I find my new I index, which is I plus 2 plus 1. Okay, this is 0 1 0 1 2, and I have to drop over here. So I plus 2 0 plus 2 plus 1 would land us over here. So again I have to make a recursive call on this particular function. Okay, this is if I choose to solve the ith problem. If I choose to not to solve the ith problem, then I can directly say what would be the maximum points I would end by solving from I plus 1th index till the end. Okay, so in the end my aim is to maximize my solution, right? Maximize my points. So I have to take maximum of these two solutions, first and second. Okay, so max of first solution comma the second solution. Okay, so there will be a point where our index would basically reach out of the array. Okay, in that case, that means there were no more questions to solve. As a result, I will straight away send us that points end will be 0. Okay, so if I is greater than or equal to array dot length, that means straight away I will get 0 points. So this is our base case. Okay, this is our base case. Okay, let's try to solve this problem. Let me jump back to the editor. Okay, yeah, so let's, as I mentioned, we'll have a function which will basically take the index and which will tell me the maximum points which I can end. So let's define that function. So max points end, which is actually taking the questions array, and it's also taking an index with and it will tell the maximum points which were end from I to end of array. Maximum points end by solving from I to end of the I till end. Okay, so as I mentioned, I have two choices, either to solve or not to solve. Okay, so let's define let's say solving solving the question. Okay, the points end by solving the question, points by solving. Okay, so if I solve the particular question, then the points end will be the current index, the first index. Okay, the questions. Okay, but that is basically points end will be questions of I of 0. So this is the points which I will be ending, the 0th index of the question, plus max points end by solving I plus questions of I comma 1 plus 1. Okay, this is what I said, I plus questions to skip plus 1. Questions to be skipped can be found by the first index of the question. So this is what it tells. Okay, now this is the points which are end by solving the ith question. Let's say what is the points by skipping. Points end by skipping would be max points of questions comma I plus 1. This would tell me the points which are end by skipping the current question. So in the end I have to return the maximum of both these solutions, points by solving and points by skipping. Okay, now that I have written my recursive case and the answer which I have to return, I should also define my base case. Okay, if the index is greater than or equal to questions dot length, that means there were no more questions to solve. In that case, I will straight away return 0. Okay, that means I won't get any points. Okay, so all I have to do is to return max points of questions comma 0. Okay, let's try to just run the solution. Okay, so as you can see that it was able to solve the default test case. Okay, but if you see the constraints, okay, the questions can be up to 10 power 5. Okay, so total number of questions can be up to 10 power 5. Okay, so here we are doing the recursive solution. Okay, so at every index we are actually taking two possible choices, right? So the overall time complexity will be order of 2 power n. Okay, so it would be, if you directly submit the solution, it would give you TLE. Okay, so let's try to optimize this by doing memoization. Okay, we are pretty much sure that these recursive solutions might overlap. Okay, so let's try to memorize this. Okay, so as we know, the questions max points are basically a factor of the index. Okay, max points, this recursive equation is the factor of 5. Okay, as I changes, the solution will also change. Okay, so let's try to define that. Okay, private long maximum will, let's have this variable. Okay, and let's try to initialize this. Okay, maximum is equal to new long of questions dot length. Okay, yep, so let's also populate it with, idea is to maximize the points which we are gonna earn, right? So let's try to fill the values with minimum possible values which it can store. Okay, so it would be long dot min value. Okay, okay. So as we know, or we can simply populate it -1 or anything would be fine. Okay. So in my recursive solution, first I have to check whether my current solution was already computed or not. Okay, so if it was not equal to mean value, that means I already know the solution to my current recursive state. So I can simply return maximum of the current index. Okay, in the end, while I was returning the state, again here I have to populate my maximum array with the current solution, and then I have to return it. Okay, so let's try to submit this. Let's see whether, yeah, it has solved, it has satisfied the basic test cases. Let's also try to submit this. It has also satisfied all the test cases. Okay, so this is like basic 1D DP problem, I would say. Okay, so at any given index, I can basically make two decisions, either to solve the problem or not to solve the problem. So that is what this recursive relation looks like. Okay, that is what this is, the recursive relation. Yeah, that's all about this problem. Do subscribe to my channel for more such coding videos. Thank you.